So have you guys been looking for a build to run with the new assault rifle, the Lexington, to make it feel like strikers from Division 1? This is that build, and I'm having a ton of fun running this build. And I feel like the survivability, the damage is there. And the crazier thing about this, I have 0 expertise in this weapon, and it still hits like a truck. Now, if you run it with any of the modifications from this season, it even performs better. And the reason why is because you can stack a little bit less crit chance and still hit that crit chance max and stack more crit damage. But again, I am having so much fun with this weapon. It feels so good to use. It honestly feels like an high-end St. Elmo's, but with more base damage, and obviously you can put a talent, so it's going to have more damage. It just doesn't have the shock ammo, and the St. Elmo's is sitting at 70 bullets. This one sits at 50. As you guys can see, I sit at 58 because of how I have the build set up. But again, to me, it's just so much fun. And when you pair this up with the modifiers from this season, it even gets crazier. So if you guys have been looking for a build to feel like strikers from the Division 1, this might be the closest thing you guys get, because it does have that survivability, it does have some armor regen, it does have some armor on kill, has a ton of damage where you're just going to be able to go through the enemies. But yeah, this right here, if you're looking for a great solo build, we actually played this build on stream live, and everybody was asking, yo, Skills, what build, what talents, what mods? And I figured, hey, let's make a build video, because we'll probably be live later today over on twitch.tv/nothingbutskills, showcasing this build right here. So let's get into the build. So we are running the new LVOA Lexington, the assault rifle. And if you notice, we have 57 in the magazine, 978 RPM, 31 optimal range. And if you look real quick, we have assault rifle, health damage, and damage trucks out of cover. This is what it should roll if you guys get this as the reward. And we put killer on there, so killing an enemy with a critical hit grants 70% critical hit damage for 10 seconds. So a lot of crit we have on this build, and we're able to proc this pretty often, as you guys saw in the gameplay. Now, we do have critical hit chance on the reflex sight. We have 20 rounds in the magazine. We have 10% critical hit damage and 5% critical hit chance on the muzzle. Now, I will tell you, because if you do run this build with modifiers, you can actually bring down your crit chance a little bit, because the modifiers will keep you up there. And let me show you the stats real quick of the build. If you look at the build, we're sitting at 59% crit chance, and that is not what we're sitting at when we have this build, but it's because we do have a modifier. Now, if I need to bump this up to 50%, I can with one mod, and I'll explain that in the build. 113% critical hit damage. That does not include killer. We have 75% headshot damage, 10% damage out of cover, and 21% health damage. We have 39% armor regen. That's because of the bag, 130,000 armor on kill, and 1.3 million armor. So for the mask, we went with the striker mask. This is going to give us weapon handling. It also gives us that 15% rate of fire. So that's why we go from 850 RPM to 978. And striker gamble, still one of the best DPS builds in the game. Weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up 100 times. 1 stack loss per second between 0 and 50, and 2 stacks loss per second between 50 and 100. We have armor on here, we have crit damage, and then we need to run a crit chance mod. For the chest piece, we went with the Zoo chest piece. The reason why, it gives us 15% magazine size for a one piece. Now, typically you would see something like running a Cheska piece right here that gives you 8% crit chance, but sacrificing the 8% crit chance and adding the extra 15% magazine size helped me out, and I actually like having the extra 7 to 8 rounds depending. When I reload, I'll have 58. When you're not reloaded, it's 57. So that's because you have one in the chamber. But again, this to me is pretty significant. Having it almost feels like having Eagle Bear at 60, right? So having the Zoo chest piece, I felt like I could sacrifice that crit chance of 8%, and then I can gain it back from my mods, right? We have weapon damage on here, critical hit damage, crit chance. This is not, we can still optimize this. I'm just waiting for some more materials. We have critical hit chance here. And then for the talent, we have obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds. Now this stacks up to 20 times. Definitely like this. Even with it being slightly nerfed, it's still an amazing talent to run. So we are running our second piece of striker battle gear, which is going to be the holster, and we have weapon damage and critical hit damage. We have our knee pads, our third piece of strikers, and we have weapon damage, critical hit damage. We have our gloves, our fourth and final piece of strikers, and we have armor and critical hit chance rolled on here. And then for the backpack, we're running the Memento backpack, weapon damage, armor, skill tier, and that's where we're getting our armor regen from. And you see we have a critical hit damage mod here. I will tell you, if you guys aren't gonna use a season mods, right, modifications, right, if you're not gonna use any of those season, what you need to do is you're gonna have to run a crit chance here to put you at 50% crit chance. Now we have kill confirmed. Obviously you guys might know we have 4 red. So every time I pick up a trophy, that's 20% extra weapon damage. We have 3 blue, so that's 30% bonus armor. And then we have 1 yellow, so that's skill efficiency. Not only that, when we are full stacks, that's why we have that 3% armor regen. That was at almost 39,000. We have 30% weapon damage and 30% skill efficiency. So very, very good build piece, especially as a solo player. I think it's one of the best in the game. I'm gonna see if my stats went away so you can see. So yeah, it definitely went away. You see how it went away because the stack did go down. And then you can kind of see what the damage on the weapon is right now. So it's at 98,000. So that's what it sits at, 98,000 without a full stack of memento. So that's something you guys need to keep in. But overall, this right here has become one of my favorites. So let me show you the mods that I am running. We go here, you'll see the modifiers that we have. We have active modifier right here. It says when activated, you will have 10 seconds to eliminate enemy. I love all out for this build. This is the one I'm talking about. Oh, sorry, it's retribution. It's shooting enemies inside medium range, builds a stack of 100. For every stack, you gain 0.5% critical hit chance, lose stacks. So that means you can have up to 50% extra critical hit chance, right? It's pretty amazing. That's why you can sacrifice having crit chance on your build. And that's what I kind of do. Now, I love by the teeth. I think this is great. Each shot for the enemy's body increases damage by 2.5. The multiplier grows by 0.5 with each shot, and registered headshots will reset it. Also, I like short range, deal 30% more weapon damage to armor enemies within short range. So these 3 are the modifiers that I love running. And if you look, we have 58 in the magazine I was showing you guys right there. But again, you can see my little stats right there. You see how like I have the retribution. It's not even fully stacked. And we should be with this build at 42% crit chance, but it shows 59%. So that means we can definitely hit 60% crit chance so easy. And that's why I love this build. If you guys have any questions, and for the skills, I'm running Reviver Hive and I'm running the Pulse. But because I am running cool skills, I don't even use either one. I just leave the Reviver Hive. I don't pop my Pulse. But overall, this is the build. Amazing build. If you don't like this chest piece and you want to have more crit chance, then you can go with Cheska. Really up to you. But for me, I really think the extra 15% magazine size was worth it. I still feel like I put out a ton of damage. And the crazy part about this is I don't even have any expertise in this weapon. And that's why this build is going to get even stronger. So guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey, but until then, ain't nothing but skills out.